All right, this is Ms. Zimnick. I'm going to give you a crash course in the Missouri Compromise, the election of 1824, and general sectionalism between the North, the South, and the West. So let's start off by visiting this lovely website here. And there we go. Okay. So this is looking at the Missouri Compromise, and what we've got going on here is in 1820, Missouri's knocking on the door to the Union. I'm going to switch to my fun pen. Ooh, I'm still getting used to this. Here we go. Okay, you can see there's our population. They hit that 60,000 mark. They want to be a slave state, though. This is a problem because it's going to upset that very delicate balance between slave and free. So what the Missouri Compromise is going to do is going to admit our friend Maine right here. They will be admitted as a free state to make sure that we still have that balance of slave and free, and it'll be 11-11. Because remember, we talked a lot about this in class, but it's not that all the Northerners were very anti-slavery based on morality. Some of them were, and that's what the abolitionist movement, of course, was all about. But there were a pretty big chunk of people who were more concerned that with the addition of this state over here, Missouri, can't get my pen to work. There, with the addition of that state, Missouri, that was going to tip that balance between slave and free and really kind of screw up the House of Representatives. So that was a little bit more of their concern. They were going to lose representation. Other part of the Missouri Compromise that's important is this 3630 line, that southernmost boundary of Missouri. That will now be the southernmost boundary of freedom. With the exception of Missouri, which is a slave state, none of this territory here is going to be open for slavery. And the Southerners are okay with getting rid of that because, again, we talked a lot about the way that the climate up here is not good for growing that green seed cotton, but they're definitely not going to want to give this up. And that Spanish possession, that Spanish territory is going to be something they're really going to fight for hard. The other thing we'd mentioned with the Missouri Compromise is that Talmadge Amendment in 1820 was proposed that would actually ban slavery altogether from any land gotten from the any other territories. It would completely ban slavery. So that amendment never passed, but it was an example how we did see some abolitionists really push for more freedoms. So that is our first major thing we need to talk about there. All right, moving right along. Let's go here with, another thing we talked about in this unit is the internal improvements are going to be a main source of debate. So the National Road, which you can see is today Interstate 70, is one of the first major attempts to try to link up the growing West with the East. And we're going to really see that the West, Northwest, and the East are going to kind of pair up here, not just here with roads, but also things like canals and eventually railroads. They're going to be much more connected between the West and the East than the South. The South will consistently be left behind. So prior to this national road, we had a lot of privately owned turnpikes. People who were just kind of wealthy who would set up their own roads or their own bridges and then charge whatever they wanted. So there was definitely a call from Henry Clay, who was from Kentucky, so some of this is in an interest for him, to change that and to get the federal government more involved in paying for internal improvements. Clay called that his American system. All right, so the election of 1824, we've got a couple different teams. We've got Crawford running. We have John C. Calhoun, who's actually going to run as vice president. Now, I joked in class, look how nice this Calhoun looks, okay? He's not bad looking. It's 1824, I can't expect a whole lot, but not bad, right? Not bad? Okay, this is what he turns into. Crazy eyes, John C. Calhoun. He really creeps me out. So anyway, John Quincy Adams is running in 1824. Henry Clay, the first of 4 attempts for him to become president, he never will, and Andrew Jackson. So here's what ends up happening. You look here, who gets the popular vote? Andrew Jackson, right? Next is John Quincy Adams, Henry Clay is right here, and we've got Crawford right there. Okay. Oh, one more thing we should note about that, though. I'm going back. Because all candidates represented factions of the Democratic Republican Party. See that? We still have one party, technically. Those days are basically done with what happens next. Electoral votes. Jackson got the most electoral votes, but not enough. Because there were 3 other candidates, he didn't get the majority needed to become president. So, thanks to our lovely 12th Amendment, what happens next? It goes to the House. Take a look at this and you can see how divided they are. Clay carries a lot in the West, yet so does Jackson, okay? So does Jackson. New England voting staunchly for Adams as a voting bloc. So even though we have only one party, you could definitely see that, hold on, I gotta go back here. You can definitely see that the country's rather divided. So what ends up happening is that John Quincy Adams teams up with Clay, because once we don't have a majority in the Electoral College, it goes to the House. So the House of Representatives has to decide, well, you go back to this, let's go back to our previous. Clay knows he doesn't have a shot, you know? So he teams up with John Adams and says, hey, if I throw my support to you and you become president, you'll have enough. Make me your Secretary of State. So that's exactly what happens. This is what we refer to as the corrupt bargain. Okay, so Jackson won the popular vote, does not become the president, and he is going to be bitter. Here's what happens in 1828. Jackson gets vindication there, and it's kind of a whooping. So you can see in 1828, there it is, state by state. Jackson will get his vindication there. Adams, as a rotten 4 years as president, really, he doesn't accomplish too much as president. He does a lot more outside of the presidency. He'll actually serve in the House of Representatives when he's done being president, and he will also defend the Africans in the Amistad case in 1841. So he'll get a lot more, I think, knowledge from that, or fame from that, and he got a ton of fame as Secretary of State. He was a great Secretary of State. I mean, he's really the author of the Monroe Doctrine. He's the reason that Britain was kind of shut out of that. He's also the architect of the Adams-O'Neese Treaty, the Transcontinental Treaty. So, not to belittle him, but his 4 years in the presidency, even he will admit, were not his best 4 years. So, I don't want to get into this here. I want to start shifting into north-southwest. So with that, I'm going to go over to this category here. This is what we did in class. We had everybody take a look at the Northeast, the South, and the Northwest. And I put up here are the pages where you're going to find the majority of information. So, hold on a second. I want to shift to a marker. Can I do this? Oh, this is exciting. I have a new pen. I have a new pen, people, and I'm not afraid to use it. Whoa! Okay. Let me test my pen. I'm testing my pen. I'm testing my pen. Look at that. Okay, sorry, I decided to try that out. I'm going to go back before I waste too much time. There, okay. So in class, we looked at these different issues. The slavery, the protective tariff, a national bank, the price of public land, funding for internal improvements. And then we went through and also looked at these pages to find examples of how these particular issues were being debated in these regions, Northeast, South, and Northwest. When I get more control over my pen, I will learn how to be able to draw all this for you. But for now, we're just going to stick with the basics. Okay. Northern characteristics. Wow, they're getting feisty next door. Forensics. Calm down over there. Sorry if this is a little loud. So here's the northern characteristics. We definitely have a factory system. It is taking hold quite a bit after the War of 1812 because we don't have to compete with England anymore, you know? So that's why we're going to start to see our factory system over here. We want to become more self-sufficient. Samuel Slater is the guy that really he steals a spinning wheel. He kind of steals the schematics. He memorizes them. In England, there were laws against that. You couldn't do that. So we came over here and created our first real factory. So the Waltham system is really important to understand. This is one where they're employing young girls, about 15 to 25 years old, and every aspect of their life is really controlled. They live in a dormitory. They have every minute planned out. And for a lot of these girls, it really was a step up. And we kind of talked about in class how this is the precursor really to the women's rights movement. They're going to start working outside the home for really the first time, earning an income. And it seems only natural they're going to start kind of pushing for a little bit more. New England will be the center of the textile industry. Pennsylvania will rapidly become our production of iron. And Eli Whitney's cotton gin, although he's a southern guy, he's going to really pioneer the whole idea of interchangeable parts. With that will be such a big part of our textiles. So our factories, really, they are non-existent before 1820. It's not until after we win that War of 1812, and then it takes a few more years until we really start getting our factory system off the ground. Here are the goals for the Northerners. They want a nice high protective tariff. They want to protect those infant industries and help them get off the ground. They want high-priced public lands because they don't want the immigrants going out west. They want them to work in the factories, right? and they want federally built internal improvements to expand the home market. That's what they want. All right. In the South, what do we see? Well, that cotton gin, if anything, it makes slavery grow even more. Slavery was actually on the decline right after the Revolution. Check that out, 800% in 10 years. 800%. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it, people. Here we go. Here we go. Are you ready? Let me try. Let me try my pen. Pen, go this way. Pen, go this way. Go this way. Oh, come on. I'm failing miserably. I really need to work on this. I just want to 800%. Look at that. Skills. Okay, in 10 years. That's enough. I need to calm down. 800% in 10 years. Removal of Indians is going to lead to expansion. We're going to see Jackson will really do that with the Trail of Tears. Even though it doesn't happen when he's president, he is the one who signs off on that. What are the goals for the South? They want a low tariff. They don't want a high protective tariff because they want to have still trade with England. They don't want New England to be running the table on them and having a monopoly. The thing about internal improvements is they're getting upset because they're not seeing the fruits of that. They're not seeing any of that. You look on page 242, you'll see there's a nice map which shows you where the canals are and where the roads are. Notice very few in the South. Okay, so they're kind of overpaying for that. They're like, why are we paying for internal improvements that we aren't seeing the benefit of? They definitely are a fan of public land available for sale in large chunks. They wanted that public land to be nice and low because they want to expand cotton into that the lowlands where you can really grow it into what's now Mississippi, Alabama, even into New Orleans. They hate the tariff. They're going to try to nullify the tariff, and we talked about that a little bit more in our other show. And we'll see Jackson's actions there. This is all in my other video, so I'm going to kind of skim over that now because I feel like you got that already in the other video. Let's take a look at the West. Let me move this so you guys can see it. All right, oops, except this now doesn't belong there. All right, bear with me here. I'm learning this process as we go. So in the West, we've got diversified farming, okay? We have specialized different crops, which is good for them. It's not a one-crop system, okay? The thing in the South is with cotton becoming so important. It's 80% of our exports to the world. The world's cotton, 80% of it is coming from the United States by 1860. All of that is in the South. That makes them very dependent, okay, on one crop. It makes you vulnerable. Here in the North, they're not as vulnerable, okay? They've got all different crops that they're growing, and they're just not as vulnerable. It's a little bit more stable of an economy. You've got more transportation, so you're starting to see some cities like Cincinnati, Ohio is going to grow. Cleveland a little bit, not nearly what we're going to see later, but mostly still along water. Water power is very important. St. Louis, Missouri is going to be another one, of course, with Robert Fulton's steamboat. That will really kind of make that city explode. So the Northwest is really increasingly becoming more linked up with the Northeast. Goals out in the West, obviously, they want low-priced public land because it's their land, and so they want it low-priced. They want a protective tariff to stimulate growth of a home market. They kind of are buying into the fact of what Clay's saying, that their future is going to be with New England. Definitely a fan of federally built internal improvements because guess what? They don't have any. So they are definitely going to be pushing for the federal government to pay for that. We watched a little of The Story of Us. It talked a lot about DeWitt Clinton's role in the creation of the Erie Canal and how those Irish immigrants really did all the backbreaking, dangerous work there. And so we're really going to see that with the West, it's going to be access for them, that they can get better access to markets at a lower cost. It's going to help them. And so we're increasingly seeing the West link up with New England. Okay, and we did this in class. What we did was we kind of just showed who belonged where, or what topic belonged where. So let me move these so you can see them. All right, so this would be something you could even do on your own. You could print this sheet out, cut it up, and try to categorize them yourself. And then compare it with this slide right here, this particular part of the show, and see how you did. But, I tried to put like major people in each one, like Calhoun is definitely going to be the voice of the South. Henry Clay really belongs to the West. Planters are running the show here. We've got more women are expected and really they're viewed more equally in the West, than they are anywhere else, mostly because they had to be. You're out there on your own. You need to rely on women to help out. So the attitude is going to be that it's a little easier for them to be viewed as a little more equal. I don't want to say totally equal because they're still not viewed as total equals, but they definitely have more of a say out here than they do anywhere else. So that might be something you could do on your own. but that just kind of walks you through a little bit here on